I was sitting across from my financial advisor last Tuesday. He'd asked me the same question 3 times in 15 minutes. Do you want to rebalance your portfolio now or wait until next quarter? Each time I hesitated. Each time I felt more paralyzed. By the 3rd time, I just wanted him to decide for me. Make it go away. I'd spent the entire morning comparing insurance policies, and before that, I'd wasted an hour researching whether to refinance my mortgage at current rates. My brain felt like sludge. What I didn't know then, that feeling wasn't weakness. It was biology. Researchers at a major bank studied over 26,000 loan applications. They discovered something alarming. Credit officers made worse decisions as their workday progressed. At 9 a.m., they approved loans that borrowers later repaid. By noon, fatigue set in. They started rejecting good applications, loans that would have been profitable for the bank. The cost? More than 9 times each officer's monthly salary, lost in a single month. That's decision fatigue hitting where it hurts. And here's what nobody's telling you. Your financial life generates hundreds of these micro decisions every week. Should you buy that tool you've been eyeing? Should you transfer more to savings this month? Should you finally upgrade your truck? Each choice depletes you. Each one chips away at your mental reserves. Published research in the Royal Society Open Science confirms what you probably already suspect. Making decisions over extended periods is cognitively taxing. It leads to what scientists call decision fatigue, a preference for the default option. Whatever choice requires the least mental effort. Think about judges deciding parole cases. A landmark study found their approval rates peaked after breaks. Early morning sessions showed reasonable judgment, but as sessions wore on without rest, approval rates plummeted toward 0. Not because the cases changed, because the judges ran out of mental energy. The same thing happens with your money. You start the day with strong intentions. By evening, you're ordering takeout you didn't budget for. You're clicking buy now on items you don't need. You're avoiding that investment review you promised yourself you'd tackle. Dean Spears at Princeton University discovered that decision fatigue traps people in poverty. The constant need to make financial trade-offs, choosing between groceries and utility bills, leaves less mental energy for everything else. By the time poor families reach the grocery store checkout, they've made so many micro-decisions that they've got no willpower left to resist impulse buys. If you're thinking this doesn't apply to you because you're comfortable, you're wrong. It applies to everyone, maybe more so to you, because you face more complex choices, more investment options, more insurance variables, more retirement planning scenarios. Each legitimate decision you make depletes the same limited mental resource. Financial analysts provide perfect evidence. Research published in the Journal of Financial Economics examined thousands of earnings forecasts. Analysts who issued multiple forecasts in a single day showed declining accuracy with each subsequent prediction. The more forecasts they'd already made, the worse their judgment became. They started hurting, just copying consensus forecasts rather than doing real analysis. The market noticed. Stock prices reflected this decision fatigue. Investors discounted forecasts from fatigued analysts. Your financial decisions carry similar consequences, just without the public scrutiny. So what's the solution? Most people try to fight through it. They think discipline equals forcing yourself to make good decisions even when exhausted. That's like trying to bench press more weight when your muscles are already failing. The real solution is radically different. Stop making so many decisions. I'm not suggesting you ignore your finances. I'm suggesting you make decisions once, permanently, so you never have to make them again. This approach has a name in behavioral economics: pre-commitment. Richard Thaler, who won the Nobel Prize for this work, studied how people actually manage money versus how they should according to textbooks. He discovered that people create mental accounts, treating different dollars differently based on arbitrary categories. Money earmarked for vacation feels different than money for groceries, even though it's all the same money. This quirk of human psychology usually causes problems. But Thaler found you can flip it into an advantage. His most famous application, the Save More Tomorrow program. Instead of asking employees to save more money now, which feels like a loss, he asked them to pre-commit to saving a percentage of future raises. They weren't losing anything today, just agreeing now to save later. The results were staggering. 78% of those offered the plan joined. 80% stuck with it through 4 pay raises. Average savings rates jumped from 3.5% to 13.6% over 40 months. Why did it work? Because people made one decision instead of dozens. They eliminated the monthly "should I save more?" question. That question generates guilt, anxiety, and mental depletion. Remove it entirely. This is the foundation of the zero-decision financial diet. You're going to pre-decide your major financial choices. Once. Permanently. Then you'll never revisit them unless your life circumstances change fundamentally. Here's how it works in practice. Cars. Right now, you probably stress over whether to buy new, used, lease, or keep driving your current vehicle. Each time you see a truck commercial or your neighbor gets a new SUV, the question resurfaces. Depleting. Distracting. Instead, make one pre-decision. I will never spend more than 30% of my annual gross income on a vehicle. Period. Done. Forever. Now when you see that luxury truck, the decision's already made. No deliberation. No temptation. No depletion. You don't qualify for that purchase based on your pre-existing rule. Your brain actually relaxes. Housing works the same way. Decide once. I will maintain total housing costs below 25% of gross income. Mortgage, taxes, insurance, maintenance, everything. This eliminates the "should we upgrade?" question that gnaws at people for years. The McMansion your colleague bought. Already eliminated by your pre-decision. No mental energy required. Restaurants and entertainment. Pre-decide. I allocate exactly 4% of monthly income to dining out. When it's gone, it's gone. I cook at home. This transforms an exhausting daily question into a simple monthly tracking task. Should we go out tonight? Check the account. Money there? Yes. Money gone? No. Zero decision fatigue. Retirement contributions. Pre-decide. I increase my contribution rate by 1% every time I get a raise, up to 15% total. You've now eliminated annual agonizing over whether you're saving enough. The decision made itself years ago. Investment rebalancing. Pre-decide. I rebalance my portfolio only when an asset class drifts more than 5 percentage points from target allocation, checking quarterly. This eliminates the "should I buy more stocks?" question every time the market moves. Your rule governs. Your emotions don't deplete you. Emergency fund. Pre-decide. Not I maintain exactly 6 months of expenses in a high-yield savings account. When I exceed that amount, I invest the surplus. Now you never wonder if you're too conservative holding cash or too aggressive taking risk. Your pre-decision handles it. The research supporting this approach is extensive. Ariely and Wertenbros demonstrated experimentally that people self-impose binding constraints when they recognize that time, inconsistent behavior is costly. Students given the option to set their own deadlines chose binding deadlines over flexible ones and performed better academically. They understood something crucial: future you will be tired, stressed, and susceptible to temptation. Present you needs to protect future you. That's exactly what pre-commitment does. A pre-decision is like a firewall protecting your financial future from your depleted evening self. When you're exhausted after a hard day, when your willpower is shot, when that purchase seems reasonable, despite contradicting your goals, your pre-decision protects you. You don't need discipline in that moment. You need a rule. The psychological mechanism here is elegant. Pre-commitment transfers the cognitive load from the moment of temptation to a moment of calm, intentional planning. Instead of resisting temptation when you're weakest, you've already removed the choice entirely. Obama famously reduced his wardrobe to 2 colors of suits, not because he lacked fashion sense, because every trivial decision depletes the same mental resource needed for consequential decisions. He wanted to preserve mental energy for running the country, not selecting outfits. Your finances deserve the same protection. Here's your framework for implementing the zero-decision financial diet. First, identify your high-frequency financial decisions. These are choices you face weekly or monthly. Eating out, online shopping, small home improvements, entertainment. These seem trivial individually. Collectively, they're exhausting. Second, convert each into a simple rule, not a suggestion, not a guideline. A rule with a clear numerical threshold. I limit restaurant spending to $150 monthly is a rule. I should eat out less is useless. The first requires zero decisions. The second generates guilt and depletion every meal. Third, create structural barriers that enforce your rules automatically. Don't rely on willpower. Open a separate checking account that receives exactly your dining out budget each month. When it's empty, you're done. The structure enforces the rule. You're not deciding. You're just checking a balance. Use automatic transfers. On the first of every month, predetermined amounts move to designated accounts: retirement, emergency fund, vacation, insurance premiums. Everything happens without your intervention. Fourth, apply this to major purchases that occur infrequently but generate enormous decision fatigue: cars, home renovations, major appliances, technology upgrades. Create price ceilings for each category. Write them down. When the moment arrives, and it will, your decision is already made. You're just executing a predetermined plan. Fifth, and this is critical, commit to reviewing your rules only twice annually. Set specific dates. January 1st and July 1st work well. Only on those dates do you evaluate whether your rules need adjustment. This prevents the gradual erosion that kills most financial plans. You're not reconsidering your car budget every time you see a commercial. You're not revisiting your retirement contribution when a colleague brags about their allocation. You've got scheduled review dates. That's enough. Between reviews, you simply execute. No decisions, no deliberation, no depletion. What about genuine emergencies or unexpected opportunities? Build flexibility into your rules. Create an unplanned expenses category with its own pre-funded account. When your water heater dies at 2 a.m., you're not making a stressed decision about whether you can afford the repair. The money's already designated for exactly the scenario. When a legitimate investment opportunity appears, you're not scrambling to evaluate it under pressure. You've got pre-allocated opportunistic investment funds with predetermined criteria for deployment. The goal isn't rigidity. The goal is eliminating decision fatigue while maintaining genuine optionality. Research on mental accounting shows people naturally treat money differently based on its source or intended use. Money from a tax refund feels different than money from your paycheck. You're more likely to splurge with the first, save the second. This tendency usually causes problems. But the zero-decision financial diet harnesses it intentionally. You're creating mental accounts with explicit rules, not letting your brain create them unconsciously and inconsistently. Studies on pre-commitment show this approach works across domains. People who publicly announce their goals are more likely to achieve them. People who set binding deadlines outperform those with flexible deadlines. People who remove temptation from their environment outperform those who rely on willpower. The pattern is consistent. Pre-commitment beats willpower. Rules beat deliberation. Financial analysts who recognize their own decision fatigue develop strategies. They allocated their most important forecasts to early morning when their judgment was freshest. They took frequent breaks. They limited the number of companies they covered. They managed their cognitive budget the way you should manage your financial budget. You've got limited mental energy. Preserve it for decisions that genuinely matter. Eliminate everything else through pre-commitment. Think about what this means for your daily experience. You wake up without the nagging question of whether you're saving enough. That decision was made years ago and executes automatically. You drive past the dealership without the mental tug of war about upgrading your vehicle. Your rule already decided. You see colleagues discussing their elaborate investment strategies without the anxiety that you're missing something. Your rebalancing rule is based on research, not emotion. You reach the end of the month without the sinking feeling that you've somehow spent more than intended. Your structural system prevented it. This is what financial peace actually looks like. Not wealth, not high income, peace. The absence of decision fatigue. The zero-decision financial diet doesn't eliminate important financial choices. It eliminates the exhausting reconsideration of choices you've already made. You decide once, powerfully, deliberately, when you're rested and clear-headed. Then you execute for years without depletion. Behavioral economics research demonstrates that cognitive biases and decision fatigue cost people thousands annually. The bank loan officers lost their institution massive sums simply by making decisions while fatigued. The judges denied parole to deserving candidates because they were too tired to think carefully. You're making decisions about your own money while experiencing the same depletion. Stop it. Make your rules. Structure your accounts. Automate your transfers. Then get back to living your life. The money will take care of itself because you've already decided how. Your financial future doesn't need more decisions. It needs better pre-decisions. That's the fundamental insight. Thinking isn't always productive. Sometimes thinking is just depletion wearing a convincing disguise. Set your rules this week. Write them down. Build the structures that enforce them. Then experience what it feels like when your money runs on autopilot. Not because you're avoiding responsibility, because you've already exercised it. Once, powerfully, permanently. That's the zero-decision financial diet. Make fewer decisions. Build more wealth. Preserve your mental energy for what actually matters. Your future self will thank you.